You don't wake up one day when you're 30 and say, everything's good. Like, I've made it to, middle age or close to middle age and say, like, my finances are cured.
Yeah, no.
It's a practice, and you have to understand that sometimes you're going to move forward and backward in that journey as well.
Welcome to HR Tech Trailblazers. I'm Mark, head of design at Clair. Today, I'm joined with John Maitland, director of design at Rocket Money. If you don't know Rocket Money, you probably should. Over 10 million members, over $2.5 billion saved by helping people find subscriptions, lower bills, and actually see where their money is going. John, welcome.
Thanks for having me.
So I read this piece you wrote about a night in 2018. You couldn't sleep, you were stressed about the next day, and you grabbed a pencil and just started drawing circles. Overlapping circles with words in them: shelter, safety, comfort. And over the years, those circles turned into the wheel of values that you still reference today. How did a few circles on a page turn into something you still use almost 8 years later?
Yeah, I am a very type A type of person. It started just through lots of research and conversations, but it's really like my compass. I would say like adventure and kindness and respect are like very high up there on those things. And whether it's like in my day job or not, if I'm not able to answer those questions and match them there to those values, it's, it becomes a question of like, should I be doing this? And that can help reorient me into more focus or zoom out into less focus.
Yeah, especially as like a leader, if you can't really understand what's driving you, it's kind of hard to lead other people.
Absolutely. You have to have conviction and vision as well.
There's a line in that piece where you said, purpose isn't a finish line, it's an orbit. How does that frame how you think about your work?
It helps me break things down piece by piece instead of trying to boil the ocean or, design something end to end in one go. Being able to break things down or focus, in this lens, focus on one orbit at a time, one aspect of being or making, it allows me to get detail oriented without losing the big picture. If you are worried constantly and focusing constantly on the needs of your audience, the needs of the business, the needs of your partners, they're going to take small little bites out of you every time. So if you can lock into one aspect of working or making, or tap into a specific value and focus on that I'm talking like a few hours at a time, like a task.
Yeah.
Like, to be clear, not a whole project. I think you can make a lot of progress. You can make more leaps.
No, I think I got you, right? Like those values, that is your orbit, the constraints. I mean, the values that you listed are shelter, safety, comfort.
Yeah.
And I think that certainly like gets into like who you design for, who your product's for, which I'll certainly get into a little later. But if you want to kind of speak to that now.
I think it's the responsibility, if you are designing a piece of technology, to understand the values of your audience and what you got into this business for. There's no more like low stakes making, like when so many products are demanding our attention, especially in the finance space. You are asking people to confront a lot of negative feelings. So you better match your values to, what you're trying to ask of them. Otherwise, it will only make them feel worse.
But with that, like in designing for emotions, for instance, at Clair, typically for the vast majority of our users, they need the money and they need it now, right? And so our job of how we design for that is, okay, let's get out of their way. And so we embed it in a product that they already use, which is like their payroll product or their work app. And now there's this benefit where, well, I can't wait 2 weeks so I get paid. I need to get paid now because I need to pay my utility bills. I need to, pay for my groceries, whatever. There's a ton of different reasons. And so the emotion that we typically strive for of when they get from, okay, I can't wait for payday. It doesn't happen for another week or so, but I do have some money available. I get in, I get out, which we track how long it takes for the user to do that. But what we constantly see are words like lifesaver, relief, and that sort of like retroactively defined the emotion that we were designing for. And now it's become our North Star, which is relief for the vast majority of our users. So I'm curious, like at Rocket Money, you and I were talking about with finance products in particular, not designing for shame, like negative
Absolutely.
reinforcement,
Yeah.
because that is the worst motivator. So in the world of designing for in a vulnerable space, what are some emotions that you try to tap into with your product?
Yeah. The biggest one is trust.
Mm-hmm.
Making sure that your audience trusts what you're doing so that they know every time they get a notification or interact with us that they don't have to think twice about it. There's someone that's got their back.
Do you ever hear that back when you talk to your users? You see user feedback in the product? Like, how do you see that sort of symbolized in that feedback?
It's one of those invisible things, which makes it difficult to identify, and it's often represented silently. I think a lot of times it's represented with that like word automagic, like when things are that way, or they just seem self-evidently clear. So like trust and clarity become paired. In early user experiences, trust and guidance become paired. It's usually attached to another value to enhance that experience is how I would frame that. But the way it manifests is these other feelings. I felt supported. I felt relief. And I think that's trust plugging in. It's that foundation supporting those other feelings. And people shock themselves. It's really not us shocking them. It's they shock themselves when they are engaging and understanding their finances for the first time, potentially.
By the way, I am a Rocket Money user. I was a Rocket Money, not to blow smoke up your ass, but like I was a Rocket Money user for years.
Yeah.
And I mean, I can ask you about a bunch of different features, but not to lose the thread. I see some things in the product where it is certainly like unique amongst the world of other, finance products and whatnot. Where do you see like the shock?
It's usually very heartwarming things. It's like, oh, I was able to, especially on the holidays, like I was able to like save money with the goals feature automatically. Like for Christmas, I didn't even have to think about it. And you saved Christmas. Like, and it's language like that. You're like, oh, wow, this feels like a Home Alone film or like, a really like warm, blanket cut type of feeling. There's people that surface like, I had no idea a lot of it's like making donations like to this automatically, like, or I signed up this for years ago. A lot of the like, my toddler's running up a bill on my credit card from gaming and iPad stuff. Kind of everyday things that might seem like silly, but it's caused someone to tell us. And I think that's really important.
Yeah, absolutely. We see that all the time. I mean, it's crazy some of the things that we see back in our like user feedback, right?
Yeah. To that point and to what you were speaking earlier, it asks a better question of you. Is it important that your members, your users are helped as quickly as possible? Or is it important that they know Clair paid them or, or helped them get the money?
Yeah.
And I think it's the former.
Yeah. I mean, actually, it's the exact opposite of we try to make Clair be the hero. We try to make Clair invisible.
Right. Yeah, exactly. And that's become a North Star.
So how design teams are typically connected to this user feedback, and it's so visible, and we're having those conversations across the org a lot. Where do you see that show up in other departments where you're seeing them also care about these things from the end user? Like
I mentioned earlier, the operations, which is our customer support and cancellation teams, like they are the backbone of that. And it's important for design to have a close relationship with those individuals to remind those other business leaders, whether they're in product or data or engineering or just, your senior leaders. You had a guest on that uses the term tip of the spear that I really like.
Okay. Say more.
If design is the tip of the spear, it goes back to that conviction, having conviction and belief in the things that you're designing against those business goals and making those things one and the same.
Historically, it's like design is in their little world over here where they're just being creative and and business is over here. And then designers are like, I want a seat at the big table. And but now I'm seeing like the shift where it's, okay, we can do both, right? We can understand what's important to the business and what's important to the users. And those things don't need to be different. They can be the same. They just need to be framed differently.
Yeah, you certainly hear a lot about this. And I would say from my experience at Truebill and Rocket Money over the years, I think we do have a good job of being represented from day one. Our founders and, some of our early, team mindset was very design forward and product forward. And we're really lucky to have that. I think that has been a huge key to our success insofar as being a quality product.
When you and I spoke a few weeks ago, you were talking about how you were impressed by their investment into design systems and you guys actually hiring someone that runs your design ops, which is really impressive.
Yeah, I truly wouldn't be here today without my design operations and design systems leaders.
Okay.
Yeah, we're not a huge design team, but we have, a great product that's super usable. And I think it's in part to a strong system and then design being operational. Our designers are fully capable of doing all the invisible work. But when you can accelerate that with a support system of even just one operations person, it enables a freedom of thought that I think is so worth it.
There's also like something that I see in your product that I don't know how many like users might see. Maybe they do. Maybe I'm not giving them credit for it, but I notice like these moments of joy. The footer literally jokes about not accepting tacos or private jets for personal information. And then I think it was maybe like a year or so ago, you introduced the swiping feature. Like it felt like I was on a dating app, but on Rocket Money.
Yeah.
Can you talk a bit about like designing for moments of joy, like whether that's for the user or that's for actually just your team, maybe?
Yeah, a dab will do you. All you need is a little delight. You don't want to overdo it. And you want those to also be super sticky and engaging, like that swiping feature. And transactions, sometimes you love them and sometimes you hate them. Like you don't want to see them again. Yeah. And there's lots of good reasons to have that feature for the business. There's lots of great reason to have it for delight.
Right.
And that's where design's uniquely positioned. And it stemmed from trying to have a quick access way that didn't duplicate something that already exists. You can go look at every transaction and go edit every detail, but how can we bring that to the forefront and lower that bar of entry to make it less scary.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So you're exposed like to the moments of shock for the user, right? If you're seeing those moments of shock leading to good places, let's say, in their lives, you want to lower that barrier to entry to everyone else to get there.
Delight and amazement are great equalizers.
All right. So taking a little step back from like the day-to-day with like design itself and going a little bit about financial health. So you mentioned that early in one of our earlier conversations that financial health is not binary, but it's more of a spectrum from vulnerable to coping to healthy to growing. And you said that the shifts between those stages aren't really about behavior. They're about how people see themselves and their relationship with money.
Yeah.
Can you walk me through that a little bit? Because I think most people hear financial health and they just think like budgeting or credit scores, which obviously you guys do, but they're not thinking about the journey itself.
Yeah. I think I'd amend that a little bit, hearing it back.
Okay.
It's about your relationship and behavior. It's like there are definitely behaviors tied to those relationships. But yeah, it's not, you don't wake up one day when you're 30 and say, everything's good. Like I've made it to, middle age or close to middle age and say like my finances are cured.
Yeah. No.
It's a practice, and you have to understand that sometimes you're going to move forward and backward in that journey as well. I have not seen a PFM out there that has really gotten to the whole journey.
Yeah.
You really need to focus on that vulnerable stage, that very first stage, and changing your mindset to your relationship with money, being able to confront it, to admit that you are vulnerable and that you might need to change something, or aspects about your life may need to change in order to take the first step on the journey. It's very uncomfortable. And I say all of that through experience.
Right.
I came into the app in a very no idea what I was doing kind of way. But knowing that there was like a very easy entry point made that relationship change a lot easier to approach.
Yeah.
And you'd be amazed how quickly things can change once you adopt that mindset. And this thinking came from a PM that I worked with in the early days at Truebill, like really understanding this. I didn't even understand it by the time I was working at Truebill. I was still working on my own situation.
Interesting.
And she was awesome and really helping me understand that customer journey at like a 10,000 foot view. Like there's lots of things in vulnerable states to do from a product sense, from a design sense, to help people change that relationship. And once you're coping, you might be coping for a long time. And that sounds like a negative word, but coping might just be like, I've got a steady paycheck now. I'm building the muscle and I'm actually sticking to a budget.
Yeah, and it comes to like, this is what we deal with every day, is having people confront those situations, right? I think in the last conversation I had with Vivian, go check out the episode that I had with her, she was talking about behavior change and how difficult that is for people, but also mentioned that people in higher stress financial situations also are acutely aware of what is the need right now, right? I need to pay bill X. I need to get my kids to school in this way, right?
Yeah.
And that priority need overtakes all the other needs in your life.
Absolutely. We see a lot of that.
You mentioned that you haven't seen like a financial product like actually get this right through like the life cycle of someone's financial life.
Yeah.
Why do you think that is? Like, why do you think this is such a hard problem to solve?
Well, the low-hanging fruit to that is, well, to try to build something that does everything is likely to not succeed. The likelihood of me needing to engage with multiple different tools in order to understand my financial picture is probably because the way that our financial systems work.
Yeah.
That's where I think, artificial intelligence becomes a good strategy, because a lot of those tools can be connected and enable people to get more specific insights. And then there's just the different types of users and audiences. Some people seek extreme detail. Other people seek a single number. And there are different tools for those types of things.
I mean, the AI thing, you and I have talked about AI a little bit. What I'm kind of wrestling with, and I don't think that there's a clear answer yet, is AI makes it easier and faster to build things. But as designers, where we always come back to is like, is this the right problem we're solving? And so how can AI actually help designers design and not influence others to lose focus on solving the right problem?
Yeah, solving the right problem and building something that lasts also.
Yeah.
I have an interesting analogy, and I'm not sure if it holds water, so we'll test it here now.
Let's hear it.
New houses that are built, a lot of people look at new houses and go, those are kind of ugly, they look cheap, and they take a lot to settle, and they, you got a punch list item that's 2 years long, and you got your contractor in and out of the house all the time. And then you have, people that are like, I'm looking, for an old house with good bones, and you peel back to the studs, like it's like old growth, hand hewn. It's solid. AI is the new growth wood. Like, are they popsicle sticks, or is it real solid old growth wood that's like built to last?
I mean, just like a house, you're designing for humans, right? And so you can't lose that. So the way, this is my perspective, and again, anything that we say here today, it may not age great, but the way that I do look at it as like it's a human companion, right? In the way of like, as you're building, right? Not as like a therapist. Don't use that as your therapist, but more as, okay, now I have this. I mean, it's not even like an assistant anymore. It's just like this super brain that helps me think.
Yeah, it's deep machine learning. It's giving you outputs. So like, we should be skeptical of those things and test them in a very human way if we are to use them as a tool, use it as a tool, in the same way that, you would inspect, a house to make sure that it's properly built.
All right. Couple quick questions for you. Short answers. What's the worst financial decision you've ever made, and it can't be crypto related?
That
you're comfortable saying.
No, I haven't made any choices like that. Buying a car, buying a new car.
Okay.
I drove a 1999 Honda Accord that I paid $300 for, and it did just fine. And as soon as I was coping, I was like, I deserve this.
Yep.
I'm still paying it off.
Same.
It's not crazy. I bought a Toyota, but I didn't need that. I don't even like cars that much, like driving them.
You look back at that monthly statement, you're like, I don't have a monthly. I'm the same way.
Yeah,
man.
buying a car. If you don't need one, find alternate methods.
All right. If you could snap your fingers and redesign one real world experience, not an app, but something in the physical world, what would it be?
Yeah. Buttons. Like, just buttons in general, not shirt buttons, but like tactile buttons.
Okay.
I feel like we cheap out on that a lot in products. physical products, and that could be like it could be make or break for somebody. I mean, and how quickly people are to dismiss something if it just doesn't feel good. Like that experience, I think we could make our buttons and switches a lot better.
I completely agree, by the way, and especially with cars, right? You just feel this cheap, but then there's like this, like, it's like popping like bubble wrap, right? Where it's like something that just like feels so tactile and nice.
Anything we touch, really. Yeah. And you know who's got this down pretty good? Zippers. The zipper industry's got a lot of it figured out. There are bad ones out there, but good ones are real good.
So big buttons really need to catch up with big zipper. That's for sure. All right. And then one last question for you. What is one thing people consistently get wrong about design?
Type. Just all things typography. Okay. There's crimes abound. To zero in on that, hanging punctuation. Is probably my biggest one. Okay. And I don't know why the industry ignores it. And it's all over.
I agree.
Yeah.
I can see how your brain works just by the answer to these questions.
Yeah. I have a history in type, and that's what I notice immediately.
Well, John, this was awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me. This was a pleasure.
And we'll see you next time.